Hello all you wonderful people. In this video I'll be breaking down everything that we know about Baldur's Gate 3's patch 8, which is set to release tomorrow. I've been getting a lot of questions about like what time is it going to release tomorrow? How are mods going to work with crossplay? How does Booming Blade work? And even questions about unique dialogue, which I guess the first thing I'll touch on. So yes, there is unique dialogue for the classes. In the base game of Baldur's Gate 3, each class has a lot of unique dialogue, and the subclasses sometimes have some different options, like the Warlock or different cleric deity choices do have some unique dialogue. As far as I've experienced, there is some for the Oath of the Crown Paladin. However, it does seem like the characters that respond back to you are using similar dialogue to what a Devotion or a Vengeance Paladin has said to the character. So I guess we'll see more as time goes on, because this game is absolutely massive. If there's any extra dialogue and new lines, perhaps. But from what I've seen, there is some for some subclasses. Now, I've also been asked a lot, what time is the Baldur's Gate 3 patch 8 set to go live? We've gotten some, I guess we can look back to the previous patches of patch 7, as well as when it released on console. Had a couple different times. So in my time zone, it was 10:40 a.m., which is 9:40 EST, Eastern Standard Time. So you can convert that to your own time zone if you want to get an idea of when patch 7 went live. I remember this was right before lunchtime. I was very excited. And whenever this happened on, console, it was at around 12:30-ish of Eastern Standard Time. So again, you can translate any. I find typically, even for their console mod updates, I'm always F5ing and seeing whenever these updates do come for console. But typically their releases are around 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's when I can expect we'll probably see it come through. I'm very shocked too to see it come through so quickly, but we can imagine sometimes around there, because you can just literally kind of reverse engineer from the previous patch. It's always been around this time. So lunchtime to like supper time, somewhere around there, you can probably imagine it'll be dropping. In addition to this, we can also look, it was on September 5th that this came out. So yeah, patch 7. Big patch notes, which is another thing that I want to get into here. So patch size, this is going to be crazy. So Sven Vink here from Larian Studios has said, I've read all 48 pages of the patch notes on this. If there was a Michelin guide to patches, I'd give this one 3 stars. He's hilarious. I love his sense of humor. 48 pages. Where does that put it in terms of word counts? That's somewhere around 20k words. As someone that has wrote a lot of papers in university, yeah, 48 pages is quite a large document. That's going to be a lot of changes, which we have been kind of drip fed a bunch of the changes that have been coming. Like that's a lot of them there. I'm not going to go through all these updates. There's a lot, but I'm going to cover on some of the major ones that we got. So yeah, 48 pages, 20,000 words. This puts it at probably the second biggest patch in all of Baldur's Gate 3. Patch 3 and patch 7 in particular were very large. Patch 3 added a lot of new content, the epilogue and magic mirror support. There's just been a lot of big patches in the past, but this one is easily the second biggest one. Somewhere around, I think it's a little bit bigger in patch 7 in terms of word counts, roughly there. Patch 7 was about like I would say about 42 pages. It was I saw some data on it. Anyways, this is a huge patch, so obviously there's a lot of changes coming to the game, and some of them are very big. Like the Shard Temple whenever you're in Act 3. Sometimes, or whenever you're in Act 2 coming into Act 3, if you're doing the Shard Temple, the elevator can drop, killing your entire party, which sucks if you're doing honor mode. So little, I guess huge updates like that will be coming as well. But some of the big ones for Baldur's Gate 3 patch 8. So Booming Blade is a very hot topic. It has been changed throughout the patches. So this is on update 2 of the stress test. They made it so that Booming Blade is a cantrip, cannot be used more than once per turn. So prior to that, if you were an Eldritch Knight, you could go Booming Blade, Booming Blade, Booming Blade, just smacking your Booming Blades around. That's obviously quite a bit of damage. That would have made it the absolute meta in Baldur's Gate 3. You would have probably never wanted to use anything other than Booming Blade. So I'm glad that they scaled that back to just once per turn, which is still very strong. This is a update over the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So Booming Blade, as it stands, can proc your extra attacks. So if you're attacking with Booming Blade, it's not like the other cantrips which uses up your entire action. If you're a class that has extra attacks, you get your extra attacks, which is huge news for the Eldritch Knight, which I think is amazing, because prior to this, the Eldritch Knight was pretty much just a class that was a thrower. Now it's, they're happy because now you can play an Eldritch Knight and go a little bit differently with it. So yeah, that's one of the biggest changes there. And I guess I'll get a little bit more into Booming Blade in a moment here, but there's a lot of changes. I've covered all the subclasses. I will link that in the comments and in the description. But some of the biggest things that I've seen are just stability patches. getting rid of any of the things that would insta kill the entire party, fixing the overall just everything little in the game, like fix war magic, which I guess this was just exclusive to patch 8 stress test, but it would make the bonus action required to be used before your extra attacks. Some more updates that I think are massive. So honor mode issue at high hall, all the party members would die upon reaching the top of the stem if anyone in the party was being dominated by an enemy, causing a game over. That would really suck because dominate person can pop up at any time, and if that happens, a full game over at the very end of the game. That'd be very frustrating on honor mode. So I'm always happy to see more honor mode fixes because I think it's a very fun way to play the game despite being extremely difficult. I think it's just the definitive Baldur's Gate 3 experience if you want to experience everything this game has to offer. So nice to see those things getting fixed. There are fixes to modding, and I will get into showcasing that here in a moment because modding is such a big component of Baldur's Gate 3 for a lot of people and a lot of gamers in general. We now got ourselves a photo mode, which lets you get into some really nice and unique positions. Oops, don't mind that drunk guy there hanging out. But with photo mode, this is nice because camera mods typically have some different ways of working. I've been getting asked a lot about camera mods coming to like console, for example, and that's not really the most possible thing, unfortunately, using the modding toolkit. However, photo mode kind of circumvents that need because you can get in here and you can explore and look around. Like you can see sometimes in the background, you'll see a bit of black there. Just because you're not really meant to see some of these locations, but most like 99.9% of the map is very, very detailed, doesn't have those issues there. But yeah, you can see just from this alone, this is extended camera mobility. Like you can literally go down right to the ground. You can get, yeah, you can see that you can go wherever you want around your characters. It's amazing. Like this has got to be one of the best photo modes that I've seen. But getting into modding, we don't really have as far as it stands mods that will work for camera mods, but the modding in general. So you can see here, I can see everything on my skill bar. I do have to disable some mods, so this is actually a very big thing because modding is important for a lot of people. Mods like impui currently aren't working properly, so there's a bit of something going on here. Previously, I covered this comment by Kate, who's the creator of a lot of the better UI mods, like Better Hotbar 2. You've definitely seen mods by them. So they have fixed impui on the first day of the stress test, so they got it working. If there'll be an official caretaker, they'll add some different features, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this a little bit before. So they did have a working version of impui 2 months ago. I also seen a recent comment on this Baldur's Gate 3 mods. Do we know what mods are patch 8 ready? Which is, I guess, something that I'm trying to help bring some awareness to because there's a lot of different thoughts going around there, but both Larian and modders have been working hard to prepare mods for patch 8 the past few months since the stress tests start. Bigger parts of the mods will be compatible as is. Authors of the most official ones will repack them with the updated toolkit, and that's it. Some will require minor updates. Some are already updated during the stress test. Norbite is active, so script extender dependent ones will be up and running a while after release, most likely. So yeah, if you're on PC, you'll see some of the mods maybe require an update at some point, but for me right now, the ones that don't work for me is something like the WASD movement mod, the native camera tweaks. So potentially we'll see those get updated at some point. But yeah, that's something there. But a lot of impui dependent mods won't be, such as a significant part of the mods, their mods that made it into the game, because that's a dependency. So as you can see here, I'm just using the regular toolbar, and I'll show you what happens if I were to go and use impui and the better toolbar mod, just so you can see it for yourself. So yeah, what's left of UI will either be updated. There's still a hope that DJMR gets back into modding. I really miss him. Unofficially or officially, I kept the unofficial version updated for 3 stress test updates since my stuff relies on it. So yeah, that's it seems they said we're worrying too much. So I mean, that's very hopeful that things will be good there, but it's a little bit of a question mark for console players since impui is not working. And this mod creator here is managing the secret scrolls, metamagic expanded, containers expanded. So things that are dependent on Norbite script extender will likely be available shortly after patch 8 releases. Now, impui is really the big question for a lot of people, so I'll just show you here. I'll just go save and use the impui. So initiating the Better Hotbar 2, you've probably seen a lot of these mods before. These are the mods that are made by Kate. They do use impui as a dependency, so I previously had it off here, and it's going to toggle the impui back on. So I'll go in, load into my game. So loading the save file here, it's going to say, hey, these new mods are detected, and then I'll say load in. And boom. So yeah, you can see here that now all my skills on my hotbar are no longer visible. You can see them here, but there's obviously some glitches in how the spell book's looking. So Anything UI related is going to have some different issues that pop up with it. So everything you see there is duplicated. It shouldn't look like that. But yeah, we don't got our spells on our spell wheel. And if we were to use a controller, I have the skills all here on the controller. So if you're using obviously console, they got to use controller. So this could work, although I have tried to use the radial wheel and it also didn't show anything. So it kind of is all over the place. But if we were to switch back now into keyboard and mouse to show what that looks like, they again will disappear, unfortunately. So yeah, right now, boom, they disappeared. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, that it may not work properly. This is just due to impui kind of being the framework for these other mods for them to work properly. So since it's broken, the other ones do end up having issues. Another update, Fear Tailor from Fear Tailor's Camp Clothing mod. I know a lot of people really love that mod, myself included. Their mod is functioning, but they have an update in the works. So yeah, most cosmetic mods will be mostly fine. You may have issues with anything impui related, but who knows, maybe there'll be an update to impui coming at some point soon, because that would make things a lot smoother, as it does have a working version out there, because mod creators, when they're working on their updates for patch 8, would have been using that to make sure that their mods would work properly. The nice part about all this though is if you're playing on console, there's still a pretty decent chance that your radial wheel will work. Maybe some modded classes may not have their icons appear, but for the most part it seems decent on controller. And the nice thing about it, if you're playing on PC, like, you can always just go and toggle the mods off. I haven't had any issues with any UI related mods. Like, you can toggle them on and off. Unlike console, if you have a mod on your save file, it's there forever. It will not go away. But at least on PC, you can enable and disable. I don't recommend doing that too often, because obviously there's a lot of issues that can pop up if you have files and remove files from a save file. So yeah, just be very mindful of that whenever you add mods to whenever you use mods in general, there's an inherent risk involved. So that's just something that you should always remember whenever modding any type of game. But yeah, it does seem like for both PC and console, this will be a smooth transition. But if you got any questions, obviously feel free to leave them in the comments, as I try to get back to you as quickly as possible to help out with anything you may need to know. But yeah, very excited. It was the night before patch 8, and I am very excited for this. So hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.